Well, I mean, what we've seen is the kind of emergence of this whole tradecraft around manipulating the space in order to have effects. And like from its kind of small beginnings in probably around 2012 or 2013, there's obviously profusion. It's happening all over the place. And not just with the actors that you think. So there's a tremendous amount of attention, of course, on kind of actors like Russia and Iran and China when it comes to information manipulation. But we also see it happening in Saudi Arabian information spaces and in the Emirates and in the Philippines and in lots of different African information contexts as well. So it's obviously become quite a widespread practice and something which is partly done for like domestic control and partly done for like geopolitical advantage. We obviously see a huge amount of Russian influence operations in Europe, but I would say that probably the most successful ones are actually not those targeting the West per se, it's those targeting the global South to try and diminish the influence of the West. So if you go to South Africa, there you'll see stories of people probably linked to Russia in one way or another, buying up stations, reusing mastheads, paying for influencers, even illicit financial transfers sometimes as well. And it's pretty clear, I think, at least to me, that these are far more kind of competed over information environments than certainly the one I live in. I mean, the Balkans is a good example of a contested information space. Now, I haven't done any specific research that recently into Balkans information environments, but we do see coming up all across both Kosovo and the Western Balkans in general, like a lot of activity which is seeking to try and detach those countries from the West and from Europe. You know, portrayals of the West, Europe, liberal democracy as being fragile and decadent, and making arguments instead that the kind of long-term interests of those countries is to kind of pivot east. Well, I mean, my message to all the journalists, firstly, is thank you for what you do. It's not easy what you do, especially in that part of the world. I know that journalists are often on the front line of this, and that means that they often are kind of targeted by the very tools of information warfare themselves. I mean, they get under cybersecurity pressures, they can get investigated by all kinds of shadowy actors, you know, and their reputations can be targeted as well. So firstly, thank you. We have to, by the way, I think, find ways of making journalists safer for what they do. Probably my main message for journalists, apart from that though, is we really need to target the actual campaigns when we investigate them. So it's quite easy to find examples of disinformation floating around, you know, but what we actually need to do is to dig into the campaigns, you know, the money transfers, the people, and that requires probably the most difficult and fragile bit of journalism, which is investigative journalism, long-term, sometimes quite risky investigations. But it's only via that we're really going to learn more about how information operations really works, who does it, and who pays for it.